societies evolve around the world, planning of the entire space has become greatly essential if the entire ecosystem, which is responsible for the survival of all organisms, both human and non-human, must be sustained. Guaranteeing such sustainability is the essence of the commemoration of this year's World Habitat Day, which Ogun State joined the global community to commemorate. The purpose of this commemoration is to reflect on the state of towns and cities. With the theme, Accelerating Urban Action for a Carbon-Free World, the event was held at the Obas Complex, Okemoson, Abeokuta, where the Ogun State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, affirmed that the choice of the theme of this year's World Habitat Day was apt and instructive.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to observe that the choice of theme of this year's World Habitat Day, which is Accelerating Urban Action for a Carbon-Free World, is apt and instructive. According to the World Bank, between 1950 and today, the population of cities around the world has more than quadrupled, with over 4.2 billion people now living in urban environments. Over this same period, the concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide, a key indicator of global warming, has risen by over a third, almost entirely to human activities. This will be worsened by the projection that the world population will reach 6.4 billion by the year 2050. This is not cheering news. Even now that the world is fighting hard against COVID-19, it behoves on all of us, the government and the people, to be more proactive in our lifestyles and the exercise of our responsibilities towards shaping the future of our towns and cities. It's a fact that cities are responsible for about 70% of global carbon dioxide emissions, with transport, buildings, energy and waste management accounting for the bulk of urban greenhouse gas emissions. The future of planet depends on national, regional and local governments with organizations, communities, institutions, the private sector and everybody working together to create sustainable, carbon neutral, inclusive cities and towns.
The governor promised that his administration would continue to creating conducive environment for business and economic growth in the state.
For the state, we will continue to harness our status as an industrial hub and the investor's decision of choice in the development of our housing program towards creating a conducive environment for business growth. We will also continue to take advantage of our strategic position as the only neighbor to Lagos, the fifth largest economy in Africa, towards creating individual prosperity for our people and the development of our dear state economy. In doing this, and ensuring a greener and carbon-free town and city is one responsibility we will continue to pursue, not only as we continue to invest massively in infrastructure across all sectors of our economy, but also in the successful and continuing implementation of our Building Our Future Together agenda. More so, as the gateway into and out of Nigeria's hinterland, we are aware that the continuous influx of people into our dear state is now without its attendant effects. As a government, we have discovered the importance of an efficient and effective organization in the discharge of good governance. This translates into the provision of physical development, adequate transportation, traffic management, efficient waste management, effective pollution control, and qualitative education, amongst other socio-economic interventions that promote welfare, well-being, and wellness of the people.
He also asserted that his administration had been methodical deliberate and calculative in its approach to the implementation of policies and programs to ensure a carbon-free environment in the state.
In this wise, as a responsible and responsive government, we have the last 3 years and 4 months continued to be methodical and deliberate in our approach to implement policies and programs, not only to shape the future of our cities and towns, but also to ensure a carbon-free environment in their state, amongst others. Our decision has created 3 new core competency urban planning and development agencies: the Ogun State Slum Regeneration Authority, the Ogun State Building Production and Management Authority, the Ogun State Planning and Development Permit, all to implement the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development. We have strengthened the Ministry of Environment for improved monitoring of the environment to reduce pollution. We've also established and strengthened the Ogun State Waste Management Authority to ensure effective and efficient waste management. We've also prepared, as we heard earlier, our state strategic transport master plan. Preparations are now in top gear to commence our intra-city bus service to reduce emissions and breakdown on our city roads. I must appreciate all our partners in the private sector for their belief in our building our future together agenda. I assure you that together we build the state of our collective dreams. I also use the opportunity to call on all other stakeholders in the private sector, including investors, to come and partner with us. I can assure you that you will find us worthy partners.
Scientists have also talked about carbon and its negative effect on our world, even when it is about the most important component of life among living organisms. Tunji Odunlami, who is a commissioner in the Ministry of Town Planning and Urban Development, speaks on the problem posed by carbon in today's urban world.
Carbon is the building block of life in Earth and the most important element in living things. The burning of carbon leads to the generation of carbon dioxide. Carbon footprint refers to the amount of carbon dioxide released to the atmosphere because of activities of individuals, organizations, and communities. Carbon dioxide is one of the greenhouse gases, and the increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere over a long period of time causes global warming, which is an aspect of climate change that we are witnessing now in the form of very hot and dry weather, causing us discomfort, intense drought. For example, in the north, causing migration of cattle down south and the issue of pest methods, and very heavy torrential rain causing flooding, especially flash flooding in cities and urban areas.
He called on everyone to see carbon reduction as an essential responsibility.
The objective of this year's World Environment Celebration and therefore the chosen theme is to focus on this serious issue of the impact of urban and city activities on the ever-increasing carbon footprint, and to embrace the course of action towards its reduction in the eventual zero generation. This is a collective responsibility, and we owe it to our planet and our continuous survival to get on the trail of this advocacy by changing our habits and contribute to global warming and to also spread the gospel to our communities. There
was a virtual address by the Executive Director, United Nations Habitat, Ms. Memuna Mohammed Sharif.
World Habitat Day provides an international opportunity to raise awareness and push for immediate action through events, discussions, and campaigns. And this year, in the run-up to the International Climate Change Summit COP26, we need immediate action in developing and implementing zero carbon plans. The recovery from COVID-19 pandemic is an opportunity for the world cities to put climate action on top of their agenda. It is a chance to change how we generate our power, construct our buildings, heat, cool, and light up our offices and homes, and travel around from home to work. We need clean, resource-efficient energy to fossil fuels. We need energy efficient infrastructure to encourage walking and cycling. And we need well-planned and well-managed compact cities that allow for non-motorized transport to reduce energy consumption from cooling and heating, so the natural and built environment come together in greater harmony.
Guest speaker and immediate past National President, Association of Nigerian Geographers, Professor Kayode Oyeshiku, analyzed the impact of carbon on the world's climate change and the economy.
In terms of the global consequences of the rapid rate of urbanization and the consequences upon through the climatic change, the distribution of the disasters in the last 5 decades is presented in figure 3. In other words, keep on rising from 1970 through 1980, 1990. By 2009, it has almost reached its peak. By 2010 to 2019, we have a very short spell of relief. The global consequences in terms of the economic losses is also presented in that particular figure 4. Within the same period, over 2 million people have actually died as a result of the disasters, resulting from associated economic losses that it is amounting to 3,640 billion, which is summarized in that particular figure. From 1970 to 1979, it was actually less than 100. In 2000 to 2009, it has actually increased to close to almost 1,000 billion. Just reminiscence of the 2 years ago, we have it close to $132,000 billion.
He enumerated some of the factors that have influenced carbon dioxide emission in urban areas.
From the climate change perspective, global temperature has been on the increase in the last 4 decades, which has contributed to increase in the number of disasters related to extreme weather across the globe. For 50 years, between 1970 and 2019, the number of weather-related disasters have increased 5 times. More than 11,000 disasters, and the likelihood have actually developed through deadly storms, flooding, heat waves, extreme temperature, rainfall, drought, and so on and so forth.
Other discussants, such as Ola Oresoya of the State Waste Management Agency, Folabi Dosunu, and Bamidele Badejo, led discussions on various topical issues of relevance to the theme.
The industry is doing something now. Actually, they are only accept people they assume. The police is not, the army are not, local government are not there. The people kill people, and that's the kind of state comes.
New condition for the viability of life on planet. A rapid, far-reaching, and unprecedented change all aspects of society, which essentially involve reducing our carbon emission, is important and urgent. The contribution of Ogun State to greenhouse gas emission in Nigeria cannot be downplayed. As the industrial capital of Nigeria, the extent of the carbon emission activity of industry is becoming overwhelming. We have an increase in number of industries that can likely have direct proportion to the increase of greenhouse gases, and the greenhouse gases from industries ranges from carbon dioxide and also to methane, and from methane to also what we call the CFC, the carbon fluorocarbons, which are high intent greenhouse gases. And also, according to studies today, cities account for about 75% of world energy consumption and are responsible for over 70% of global greenhouse emissions. Urbanization is also now taking place rapidly in developing countries, including Nigeria, while about 30% of the world cities are already facing the consequence of climate change, and almost all are at risk. That our cities in Nigeria are vulnerable to climate change, so that we should stimulate our reflection. And this we can confirm it with the extreme weather conditions that we are facing in all our cities, ranging from flooding to heat waves, etc., etc. Traffic, logjam, and the rest of it. Energy production and product consumption and irresponsible waste management contribute directly to climate change by adding carbon-based particles into the air, which are produced during the burning of petroleum products or solid waste.
What are the correlations between cities and health? And I've looked at it under existing inequalities, pre-existing medical condition, nutrition, water, access to basic healthcare services, sewerage, and waste management. Some of these things that we've talked about since the beginning of the world. Existing inequalities just means that, of course, when you talk about informal settlement or slums, it is in those places that you have the poor people. Those are the people that they are facing unemployment, they are sick, there is disability and old age. And what we discovered with COVID-19 is that this inequality and COVID-19 are mutually reinforcing each other. Of course, COVID-19 infection is worse in this month than when you look at it. Look at, let me not mention specific places in Ogun State, but those that are living in GRA are much better protected when it comes to COVID. There are some of these other stuff that we talk about. When you look at the measures that we put in place, they now said, well, in the course of this COVID infection, the Ministry of Health went through a place where they said you should go and keep yourself at home because the healthcare system almost collapsed, if I can put it, and the cost of treating these people are so high. And I know that the situation where, of course, it's easier for somebody living in GRA who has a 3-bedroom apartment, and it's just maybe the father, mother, and one or two children to say, let this father be treated at home and isolate him in one room. And when you go to the slum, and about 50 people staying in one room, and where does that person now self-isolate even to treat?
Stakeholders relevant to the discourse on ground highlighted measures by which interconnectivity and collaboration could help ensure a carbon-free environment.
Transportation, of course, has been identified as a high contributor to global carbon footprint, accounting for 20% plus or minus 5 within a range of 10 years in developing countries and even higher in developed countries. Transportation accounts for 29% of greenhouse gas emissions, even in the United States of America. Not surprising, therefore, that the United Nations, in recognition of the dire impact of transportation on building of sustainable cities and human settlements, identified 3 integrated pillars for sustainable development pursuant to goals 9 and 11 of the Sustainable Development Goals. And these are transportation, urban planning, and resilience. Towards achieving safe, resilient, and sustainable cities in the world, ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations UN Habitat, working with the United Kingdom Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, chose 19 cities for transportation, urban planning, and resilience interventions across the world. Abeokuta is one of such cities, and to this end, working with the UK FCDO and urban transport policy with strong emphasis on public transportation and mass transit has been developed and presented to the government of the states.
The principle of livability and sustainability are based upon the need for us to make our world available for conducive living for those who will be the residents of this planet in another 100, 200 or more years. Creating that carbon neutral, livable and sustainable future relies on our ability as stakeholders to collaborate and make the right actions happen through responsible living. To achieve this, we must go back to the basics
livability and sustainability rest on the principles of planning. The physical planning of our human settlements will make solving problems in the built environment easier. I am therefore compelled again to call on governments throughout Nigeria to become alive to their responsibility for planning while making use of the knowledge, wisdom and skills of town planners to help them in transforming their visions, policies and plans into blueprints as master plans, sector plans, district plans, and others that will deliver us all settlements that are conducive for living.
We also align to the principles of International Finance Corporation's performance standards on environmental and social sustainability and fully support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 11, which is sustainable cities and communities in all our engagements. Therefore, our partnership with Ogun State Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development is born of our desire to continually contribute to improving people's living standards and overall sustainable development of the state physical and environmental architecture. We are optimistic that this event will mark a conscious reawakening and a new sense of responsibility among all stakeholders towards implementing initiatives for reducing carbon emissions for a healthier and sustainable future.
Having a carbon-free world is a concern which remains major in the minds of world policy makers, scientists, environmentalists, planners, opinion leaders, politicians, and many more. As expected, it is a goal which the state government under the present administration takes seriously and pursues with vigor. All citizens are therefore enjoined to join this effort through actions and activities geared towards making our world free of carbon, especially in sectors such as transport, buildings, energy, and waste management. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn, àjọṣe wa ni.